Greetings, carbon units. Driving the KV1S today, and I always feel a little more exposed in this thing, phrasing, than I do in the KV1. I guess it's because it has a bit less armor. Even though it has 810 hit points compared to the KV's 640, it has the same frontal armor of 75, but on the sides and rear it's 60 instead of the KV1's 75. It's kind of the nice thing about the KV1. You park it, angle it, start firing. If someone comes up behind you, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. It's not as well angled on the back, obviously, but you get some decent armor on the back of that KV1. Still, this has advantages. It has a 40-kilometer speed limit as opposed to 34 for the KV1. And again, that higher hit point pool. But here we are as a Tier 6 tank in a heavily Tier 7 match. This often gives me pause for concern. I don't really know where to take this thing on this map. Not a big fan of it. The map, I mean, not the tank. So I figure I'll try this hill over on the eastern front, where all is quiet so far. Our T-21's doing a good job of scouting. Nothing visible yet, so he's pushing forward. He's going to do that. I may as well get ahead a bit as well, so I'll go to the other hill. And I see there's a nice little patch of dead ground over here. It could be of use in protecting us against anything on that far hill to the right flank. There's an enemy T-21 also scouting, but at this point it's probably advisable for him to withdraw. And maybe that's his plan, but he's coming around, going after our T-21. We finally get a chance for a safe shot on him. Let me take it. I'm sure the T-21 could have had that kill, but there's enemy tanks coming over the hill looking for distracted opponents, like this guy. That's a good hit on the Yag Panther, and as a Tier 7 target, that damage is worth more to me than hitting this T-150. Although, if all I have to shoot at is a T-150 and he's missed me, then I'll take it. And since it's a higher damage roll that time, it might actually end up equaling what I did to the Yag Panther. But in general, when faced with two targets, if one's higher tier, it's more profitable to fire on that one. Because these rounds are not cheap. And we're taking some arty. And a petulant shot at the Yag Panther, but I think that went into somebody behind. And a wild tiger suddenly appears, clearly intent on pushing instead of defending, whereas his teammates are quite happy with the defense role that they've set up for themselves. So I'm sure he's quite unhappy at this moment. Waited just a bit too long there. He's trying to retrack him now that his kit's been used. But he's finished, and quite possibly on his keyboard now, complaining to his teammates. Or he might have shrugged his shoulders, taking it for what it is. But I don't think we're going to get many more easy shots at this point from this location, and it's going to be time to move up, take a bit more risk. Because those guys are clearly staying in the dead ground behind this little ridge, hoping that targets will come to them. And it's a tied match. We need to do something to shift the tempo in our favor. There's that T-150 we damaged earlier. He's going to be looking for revenge. Takes it out on our scout. And we just make him a little angrier. T-21 still hanging in there at 14%. He's been doing a good job of scouting. Hopefully our artillery, well, looks like the artillery may have been focused elsewhere. which means we really need to put some effort in ourselves, and rather than go after the Yag Panther, and get a low health kill. Put a round into that T150, make the best use of this round. This U11 gun can do 450 average damage. Why waste that on a low health kill? Now someone's hit us. And we can't see them. Oh, now we can see them. It is a dreaded KV1S. Let's see if we can do anything about it. He's backing off, so he's obviously looking our way. Now he is going to get cocky. Who's he going to shoot at? Took a crack at our T-29. And we get lucky, because that is a long distance to hit anything with a U-11. But if you can... Now on our T-21, just bought the farm.
Enemy armor is destroyed.
But he was avenged. Now that T-150 we hit earlier has obviously taken another hit from somebody. Probably our T-29. And he secures the kill. Now that, I suppose, is 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Had I fired at the Jagdpanzer and killed them, I would have had to expose more of my vehicle. Probably taken a shot from the T-150. And then we would have had more of a fight trying to take down that T-150. By damaging the T-150, left an extra gun in the game for a few minutes, but it worked out. And got us a second class mastery badge. Don't get too excited. That 2958 is a triple for a first win on a weekend. But some decent damage. Some of it against tier 7 tanks, which gave us a bit more value for the damage done. 2,253 points of damage scored, 2 kills. A tier 6 and a tier 7 match. Not entirely tier 7, but still getting the most damage in. That's adequate. It will do very nicely. And we walked away with 68,000 credits, but 50 of that was for completing a mission, so 18,000 credits. Not a big credit earner. The KV1 definitely does earn you more credits per match. I think even if you go to Tank Compare, it will bear that out. By a narrow margin, but it will bear it out. So here we are on Himmelsdorf. And I do not want to be in a tier 8 match with a tier 6 heavy with a slow loading gun and go down into the town, because I will just get surrounded and hammered. If I come up here, it's a much more restricted area. I can be flanked from one direction only if somebody comes around the castle. And if we can get up there fast enough, we can force the enemy to come over the hill on the far side to get at us and expose their lower glacis in the attempt. And it looks like that's what's happening right now, because that T-69 got up there very quickly. The IS-6 as well has slowed them down significantly. Otherwise, they would have just pushed right up to the castle. So, well played on their part. But the IS-6 is now paying for that bravery. He's got someone coming to support him, but they're in a very dangerous spot. And we don't have a shot. But they're held back now, because we've seized the middle of the high ground. But, unfortunately, most of our heavies, with the exception of 3 tanks, have come up to the top of the hill. And that will be cause for some consternation later on, because we are decidedly thin down below. Although, in fairness, the enemy has sent quite a few tanks up here to seize this high ground. And, oh, the T-34 is doing something very foolish, driving up on the rubble. We were quite lucky to be there for that. Took full advantage of that exposed lower hull. We're spotted again. I do not like to be spotted in this position with enemy artillery in play. I think there's a very good chance you'll find them down at the K0 spot, just waiting for a target like myself. Because that's exactly where I would sit if I was playing Artie on this map. And if you look at Kimco, he's sitting in our analogous spot up at A0, and he's having himself a pretty good match, though you can't see it at the moment. Just have a look at his damage numbers when we're done. It's a mild spoiler alert, I suppose, because now you know he's going to have a good match. Now, this is a lucky spot. That SU also exposing too much of himself in an attempt to get his gun into play. If you can hold this middle effectively, you can do a lot of damage. Now this would have been a great shot, but it wasn't fully aimed, and the gods of RNG just said, no, you've had your share for this match. Or have you? T69 knows he's not going to survive for long because he's taking too much flanking fire from that T32, so he makes a run for it, doesn't quite make it. Well, I look away for half a second and find that that T32 can traverse his turret very quickly. I do it again, and what do you know? He's looking at me again. It's like he can tell when I zoom out. That was pretty freaky. And no, I'm not crying hack. I'm just saying that was just a weird coincidence. As you've been able to see, our teammates do not approve of our sitting up here. And who can blame them? They went down to the town trying to balance the deployment, and they pretty much got wiped out because more enemy went down there. We had way too many heavies come up here, and we lost most of them. All but two, and one of them is a lowly tier 6. So one can hardly blame our dead teammates for being upset. Although in all fairness, when they accuse Archangel of camping, he's doing a lot of damage from that spot he's in. He's resetting the cap as well, along with Kimco, and we get very lucky in that he turned his flank to us after Archangel cracked open that flank, unloaded the enemy, he tried to make a run for it, and we managed to get him in the flank. So, no, he's not just a camper. He's the guy who got us out of that hill. And now we can get down and try to reset this cap. I think it's a reasonably safe bet at this point that we know the enemy are all down on that cap circle. So I'm pushing ahead a little bit because I want to get a look, see if I can get a sneaky shot in, but light them up for our artillery, but the person has already done so. And that was a good shot from Kimco. It's a complete reset. We got a very good arty player on this match. We got slow down, let it zero in a bit. And oh dear me, they're looking right at us. And all we did was scorch his paint. Okay, their Tiger sees a KV1 with a long reload time. He's pushing in for the kill. And Archangel to the rescue. Don't know who this guy is, but he played himself a good match. Not as much damage as a Twisted Pimp did, but he did a lot of damage. Okay, so that's one last tank firing at our tracked teammate. In fact, he finished off the Tiger. That just leaves the IS. We don't seem to have a shot at him. T-32 is moving. We'll follow him into cover. See if we can keep him spotted for artillery perhaps, but oh, his gun is empty. So we will try to get in there, do some more damage. And And we get very lucky with a completely unaimed shot. Makes up for missing the Black Prince, I guess. But that's the first class mastery badge. And again, triple. Don't get too excited. Not too bad. Damaging 6 higher tier tanks. Killing a few of them. We did 2,000 damage. That earned us 1,200 experience. And even though Twisted Pimp did far more for the team, he got less experience just from the simple fact that he was driving a higher tier tank and didn't get a multiplier. You can see that Archangel did quite well as well. Allow myself to introduce myself. 2,260 damage. A fair amount of damage. The artillery did quite a lot as well. 2,400 damage. That knocked a lot of enemy players down into one-shot kill territory, which you could say saved the match for us. So as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you at the